Okay, you guys, we're live. Everybody, welcome back to Lady Wolverton's Den. And we have Fire Witch on again with us today, along with LMR, Living My Rhapsody, and Marie Hill of Game of Theories with Marie. And we're going to be talking about Queen Sansa, King Jon, Sansa, part two. We already talked about it last week. And let me mention this. The reason we are not doing cameras is because we are broadcasting from three different continents, the US, Australia, and Germany. And it just seems to work better to just do the icons and just do sound. Now, will let everyone introduce themselves, starting with our guest. Fire Witch.
Hello, Feuerhexe, Fire Witch from Germany. Hi. Like I said, I'm from Germany, and I started my channel with basically with a Game of Thrones reaction videos for season 6. I did reaction videos and also short reviews. And for season 7, I did reaction videos, and I wanted to start to do a few theory videos as well. And pretty much my first theory video is now about possible clues and foreshadowing about King Jon and Queen Sansa as a future king and queen of Westeros. Yeah.
All right, and just a bit of background. There was this theory video that was 55 minutes long, and my friend Marie Hill, we're both Sansa fans, says to me, check out this video. So I check it out. I get in touch with Fire Witch, and I'm like, I love your theory. I really love it. At first, I never thought about it. And she has this one part in her video that is so cute where she goes, FEUERHEXE, you crazy YouTuber. What about the magical baby? And that's exactly what I was thinking. So good to have her here. And that's how it happened. And we talked for a while. And then I said, hey, would you please come on and do a live stream and we'll talk about your video. You guys, there's a link to this video in the description. There's also a link to her channel, as well as to LMR's channel and to Marie from Game of Theories. Okay, and I also want to welcome into the chat, we've got Peace Amin and Mackenzie with us. Hello, thank you. So glad you guys could make it. All right, Marie, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello everyone. Good morning. Oh, it's good morning here. It's 5 o'clock in the morning here, so it's just nice to be involved in this. And yes, I was the first one to see it. When I first saw it, I thought, oh, 55 minutes. But I'm thinking, but it's Jon and Sansa. So I sat and watched the whole 55 minutes, and I wanted it to go on because I was just sat here wrapped, and I thought, this is so true. And just the way Fire Witch put everything together with both show and book, and it all comes together, and you think to yourself, this could possibly be true, and this could be wouldn't say the shock that George R. R. Martin is saying is the third shock, but I think a lot of people would be unexpected, and I would love to see it just for the Sansa hate. So hello, everyone. Great to be
All right,
here.
LMR.
Hi, everybody. This is LMR. I guess you can find me on my channel, Living My Rhapsody. That's where I do my book stuff, kind of my writing journey. And you can find me at Living Reviews, where I review random things. Again, Jen, thank you so much for having me, and it's wonderful to be part of this panel. We're having a blast. Thank you.
All right, you guys. Well, let's get started. Quick overview. Last week we talked about. Sansa wanted a hero, and there's a point where she's sitting there and Jenna Slint is sitting there and she thinks to herself, I wish somebody would just kill him. Okay, well, Jon eventually does end up killing him, but as she's saying to herself, I wish somebody would just kill him, she's saying, nobody will kill him. There are no heroes left. And Jon is basically turning into Sansa's hero. And we've talked about a lot of the parallels, their journey, opposite, very opposite, but kind of the same. Jon goes off to the wall thinking that he wants to be a ranger. He wants to kind of be a hero. And he gets there and he realizes, and who with the help of, who kind of teaches him some of what's going on? Tyrion Lannister, who also teaches Sansa kind of a little bit of how to survive. Tyrion Lannister. So I think that's also very important that Tyrion has been there for both of them. And I think that is very much so going to come into play. But today, hey, Bubba Husky, last time we talked a lot about the book, and we'll get back on the book. But today I want to start off show. And what I want to start off with is Fire Witch laid down some beautiful cinematography parallels that take place in the show that basically make Jon and Sansa, Caitlyn and Ned 2.0. And it's so obvious a lot of the time. One of the most obvious parallels between Caitlyn and Sansa, and I'm not doing this in order, but I'm going to go here. One of the most obvious parallels, especially if you just watch the scenes back to back, Brienne of Tarth swearing herself to Catelyn and then turning around and swearing herself to Sansa. But we have so many more. As far as Ned and Jon being compared, Stannis saying, you have the look about your father. We weren't friends, but no one could doubt the man's honor. And Jon says, well, you know what? There is no higher compliment to me. Littlefinger comparing Sansa to her mother. Right after this happens, right after Marjorie Tyrell comes in and she's happy for just a moment that she's no longer betrothed to Joffrey. And then Littlefinger compares their tender hearts and her mother. The Sansa, going just cinematography, when Caitlyn tells Sansa she doesn't want Jon up there with Bran, it's very similar shot to when they're by the fire at the wall. Jon telling the Northern Lords that the man who passes the Senate should swing the sword. Comparing it to Ned. Also, another thing, if you watch it, their speeches are very similar. Caitlyn telling Ned, your brother rode south once. Sansa says the almost exact thing to Jon when he wants to go to Dragonstone. Ned grabbing Littlefinger outside of the brothel when he talks about how much he loves Catelyn. And y'all remember this. Ned's like, you're a funny man. You're a funny man, aren't you? And then Jon grabbing Littlefinger down in the crypts. Okay, so Fire Witch, I'll let you start. If you just want to talk about these parallels that we see in the show and any others I didn't mention, or just elaborate on the ones I did mention.
Yeah, hi again. Yeah, I think these Ned and Caitlyn parallels are really, for me, they are really the most striking clue about Jon and Sansa, because basically everything you mentioned, and it really would be very, very great coincidence if it doesn't have any meaning, if it's really just a coincidence. I really can't imagine that. And I especially like all the Jon and Sansa at Winterfell parallels, comparing them to Ned and Cat at Winterfell, you know, like watching the kids practicing archery and the exactly similar camera shots. They are really using exactly the same frames. And yeah, it's like a mixture of cinematography and characterization. And I also especially like the Littlefinger parallel with Ned Stark choking Littlefinger because of his wife, and Jon is choking Littlefinger because of Sansa, his possibly future wife. I really love that parallel, especially in particular. Yeah, what do you guys think?
The one in the crypt especially stuck out to me, even before I considered this, because the way he grabbed him and threatened him, I have an older brother, and the way he grabbed him and threatened him, it was not a brother defending a sister to me. It was much stronger than that. I mean, it was much stronger than that. That one definitely stuck out to me as, wait a minute, you know, he's very forceful for just the love of a brother.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And here we have a comment, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna again butcher a name. Samid Sand. It says the show has done a lot of parallels to Ned Cat. It's done for a reason. I completely agree with that. I mean, everything here. They have limited a number of minutes. It comes down to minutes. So I don't think they would be well. That again, people have different opinions. Some say that they wasted a lot of time for some things where they did not spend a lot of time for other things. But in general, the main things that should have been there that are important, they're there. And I'm right now talking about the show, not only about the books. So anything that we see, it's a clue. And like you said, with the parallels for how they looked, for me, it was, for example, when Jon was talking about it was Jon and Sansa. The same thing was said by Ned to Arya, saying we can't fight a war against ourselves. So it's actually word by word in the show. And then the whole thing about the he who passes the sentence. And I don't remember if it was said in the show by anybody else, if Rob mentioned it or not, but I can, for now at least, I can only recall Jon saying it and Ned saying it as far as the male line goes. And then one more thing that was really, again, like for the pictures, just how the show portrays it. It was in the video where Sansa is standing under the tower, and Catelyn is standing under the tower, and it's almost exact. Well, the only thing different was basically a person. Everything else was the same. Music was very similar. So yes, those were the two things that really struck me.
I completely agree. Marie, do you have anything?
If I can figure out how to unmute. Yeah, I'm going to go way back to even season 6. I think they made a real point of Jon and Sansa, especially with the reunion. That was the only Stark reunion that brought tears to my eyes. In season 7, I was disappointed with all of them. And I think there's a reason for that. And also, when Jon first comes out, he kind of sees Sansa, and it's like a kick to the stomach. He kind of steps back for a moment as if he can't believe his eyes, and then he slowly goes down the steps, and you get that great big hug moment. And then for her to make a coat for him, do you know how many hours that would take to sit there and make that coat? And she makes it just like her father's. I think she even says it's just what father would have worn. I tried to copy it exactly like father's.
Yes, she says that. She says, or best as she can remember. Speaking of, I'm glad you brought up that kiss. Because Fire Witch, you specifically parallel a book and show parallel here is about Jon's kisses and Snow kisses. Could you touch on that for us?
Yeah, in the books, there is the scene where Sansa is building a snow castle at the Eyrie, and she's building a castle, and she soon realizes that this castle is Winterfell, and she's building this castle. She's basically building Winterfell out of snow. And before she's doing this, there's the wording like the snow is falling on her face, and it feels like lovers' kisses melting on her cheeks and her lips. And it's a really romantic language that like symbolizes the snow as kisses, the snowflakes as kisses. And it's, you know, of course, we know Jon Snow stands for the snow. So it basically symbolizes her rebuilding Winterfell out of snow with snow, Jon Snow. So yeah, there's that kind of symbolism behind that.
Exactly. And right here, rebuilding Winterfell. I have it exactly right here. Sansa and Jon. Sansa thinks often of rebuilding Winterfell. And here's the exact quote you used, one of them. What do I want with snowballs? She looked at her sad little arsenal. There's no one to throw them at. She let the one she was making drop from her hand. I could build a snow knight instead, she thought, or even... She set to work. The snow fell and the castle rose. 2 walls, ankle high, the inner taller than the outer. Towers and turrets, keeps and stairs, a round kitchen, a square armory. The stables along the inside of the west wall. It was only a castle when she began, but before long, Sansa knew it was Winterfell. And Jon also thinks to himself, Theon left it burnt and broken, but I could rebuild it. His father would like that. So they have both separately thought of rebuilding Winterfell on their own, away from each other, which I think is very significant because we know there must always be a Stark in Winterfell.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody have something to add about that, chat?
With that, for Stark at Winterfell, there's that discrepancy, I guess, because, well, there's always a Stark at Winterfell because there are a bunch of dead Starks there. So I think that part of it is explained. It doesn't say it has to be a live Stark. It just says there has to be a Stark. So maybe there's a reason why they're the graves are inside, not outside the castle or not outside the grounds. And then actually, in the beginning of the video, if I can add to that, there was, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it in our previous chat, but Sansa was told that by Septa that someday her husband will sit on that throne, and then right after that scene, there was I guess Bran was saying that he is an heir to the Iron Throne. So that was nicely put in that lovely video that you made, Fire Witch. And I think that is also a nice clue. I mean, not just understanding that they will be together, but that they are both in a way destined to be together. Not just and there's one thing while looking through the video, there was just one single thing that I did not agree with, but maybe it was the way I understood it. It said only, and Fire Witch, you mentioned only Jon will marry her, not wanting or not caring about her titles. I think that there are 2 things that may happen. He, in a way, doesn't care personally about the titles because he doesn't. But again, uniting the 2 lines would kind of unite the North, and actually all of the North, South, and everything. He may love her, but he also may be pressured into marrying her. Not that he wouldn't by himself, but there is this thing about uniting the houses Stark with Sansa and Targaryen Stark from Jon. So he may be driven by two things: love for her. I mean, something that will evolve into love. I don't know if he realizes it yet. It's still developing, it seems. But once he realizes it, he may understand that yes, he loves her and she loves him. Later on, but it's also important that they join the two houses together, and they're only cousins. They're not an aunt or brother sister, they're cousins, which is a normal thing to happen back then.
Extremely normal. In fact, before all this and in the book, we see her Aunt Lysa gladly wanting her to marry Sweet Robin, who is definitely her first cousin on her mother's side, even if the parentage could be questionable there. I know a lot of people think that maybe Jon Arryn is not his father, but still, they are definitely maternal cousins. So, yeah, that would be no big deal. No big deal at all. And while Daenerys might not think too much about marrying her nephew, I think Jon would have a problem with it. What do you guys think?
I really think so. I really think, I mean, would you rather marry your cousin or your aunt? I mean, even if you, grew up together or they didn't really grow up together, but yeah, I don't think he would be really very, very thrilled about that, even though, people are saying, yeah, but Jon and Daenerys, they are strangers. They don't know that they're related. Therefore, it would be okay. Yeah,
it's okay now, but I have a feeling that's all going to come out. And not only do I think it's going to come out, but I don't think Daenerys is really the Sharon type. Whereas he and Sansa have a good basis of trust and love and seem to be able to be learning how to work together.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I don't think that Jon and Daenerys will get married. I'm just talking about the emotional aspect. Jon and Daenerys don't know that they're related; they are strangers. And Jon and Sansa know that they're related and they're pretty close. Therefore, some people say, yeah, Jon would rather marry Daenerys because she's basically he didn't grow up with her.
Right, but I think when this all comes out, and if not the show, definitely the books, when it comes out that that's his aunt, I think that's going to creep him out just a little bit because, the Targaryens have been raised, because we know from the books, even Viserys felt a little, he gave Daenerys away, but begrudgingly. He would have liked to have had his cake and ate it too, in my opinion. But I think Jon's going to be a bit creeped out by the fact that he realizes how closely they're related. And also, Daenerys doesn't seem like she's a good sharer to me.
Yeah. That's really what annoys me the most when people say, yeah, but Targaryens, they do incest and it will be totally okay. Yeah, but Jon is Stark. He wasn't raised by the Targaryens. He's Ned Stark, reloaded basically. And why would he suddenly, at the end of the story, when he's been Ned Stark reloaded for like 7 seasons, why would his character arc end as Aegon Targaryen married to his aunt? Basically everything ends with a Targaryen restoration, which makes absolutely no sense. So yeah.
I kind of go back to what LMR said. I do wonder if Arya will play a hand with Sansa recognizing her own feelings when she meets Jon and Dany, and she might be able to see more clearly than what Sansa will, and she'll because Arya's is trained now to look at different things, so she may point out to Sansa her own feelings towards Jon. And as for the incest, I can't see Jon being happy with that because Jaime and Cersei are a laughingstock. They are a joke in Westeros because they're brother and sister and everyone knows what they're doing. And now in the last season, they're not even pretending. They'll sleep openly together, and they've become a laughingstock. And I can't see Jon accepting it. And what Firewitch said, he's Ned 2.0. I mean, if the rush of the show and Jon just accepts it, I'm not going to be happy with it because he would fight it. he wouldn't like it. Like Sansa is his cousin, Dany is his aunt, and I just can't see him being with Dany when he knows the relationship between them. It just wouldn't sit right with me.
Very well put. And sometimes I just don't articulate as well as I want to, but that's kind of what I was trying to get at. I just, again, what Firewitch is saying, Jon will always be a Stark, okay? Even when he finds out his true parentage, he's still a Stark. I mean, you can go to people who are adopted and look at this. Yeah, they know they're adopted, but they consider themselves whoever has raised them. And those are usually the beliefs and mannerisms, customs, and just way of doing things they take on. And I can't see him being okay with that. Whereas Dany might be. I can't see Jon being okay with it. But I believe we're going to see. I believe we're going to see some discord here because I don't believe Dany's not prepared to find out that she actually does not have the best claim, because that's her whole life basically has been staked on that, and that's fixing to be taken away from her, and I don't think that's going to sit well. Another thing I wanted to mention.
Can I say something to that briefly? I don't understand why Jon being a Targaryen or legitimate Targaryen means that he automatically has to end up with Daenerys, because that's what so many people are thinking. Oh, he's a Targaryen, he has to end up with Daenerys because the last two Targaryens. If that's really his purpose, then why did they make him A, Ned Stark Reloaded, and B, the secret heir to the throne, the secret king for 7 seasons, if it has absolutely no impact on the story? If Daenerys is just, oh yeah, okay, yeah, here you can rule, I don't know, I will step back or whatever, or if she simply, which would be completely out of character, agrees, yeah, let's share everything, really, yeah, makes absolutely no sense to me.
I think for what's the name? For Daenerys, everybody who was into that, they wanted to see the scene that we were given at the end of the last season. We wanted to, a lot of people wanted to see that. But the look, I think, on Tyrion's face, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned it somewhere, I don't see it as being jealous. I see it as kind of looking concerned about something. And what Jon did, he didn't look, I don't know, like what look somebody would have before knocking on the door. But to me, it looked like he was nervous about something. And I keep thinking that him and Tyrion must have had a conversation to do what is best for the people, to make sure that Dany is happy, whatever that means for her. So I think he's playing. He may be, obviously she's a beautiful woman. I'm sure he's not suffering over there, but I don't see that as love. I see that as kind of his duty, as a, kind of to
No, Elamar, that's actually brilliant. And Firewitch, why don't you tell everybody the video you're working on now?
Yeah, I'm currently working on a video exactly about this topic. There's a theory that this whole romance with Daenerys wasn't badly written or badly acted or badly directed. It all happened for a reason, because Jon is basically, it comes down to this. He's basically, using her. He's not really playing her. He's got his goal, his mission. He has to get her north, and because his destiny or his duty is protecting the 7 kingdoms, and he has to do everything to ensure the survival of the people. And so much is hinting that this is really not a love story. And like you said, like when he was knocking at her door, he really looked like an actor getting ready to play a role or something. Yeah, and I definitely think that I definitely think that he and Tyrion they are both kind of manipulating her in a very kind way. They're not evil or something. They're not vicious or wicked. They are just doing what they have to do to focus her on a certain mission, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, for them, it's doing what they need to do, but I think that's also she's gonna feel betrayed if she finds out. I mean, we don't know what was said in that bed. There was no actually conversation that we saw. There was a lot of staring, which was kind of creepy, and so we don't know what was said while they were in bed together. I don't know if he mentioned that he loves her or whatever was mentioned there. So hopefully he won't be breaking any vows that he makes to her. I mean, he already gave her the North and he gave her himself. Hopefully he didn't give her his heart. But I think that whatever he does or did, she will see that as being betrayed for love because, heck, I mean, he's not bad looking. I mean,
Eleanor, that's exactly where I was going next.
Yeah.
You guys, is the betrayal for love.
Yeah, I think that's how she's gonna see it. Yeah. Again, I don't know what they said to each other. Hopefully he didn't blurt out anything stupid, because she will take it for real. Well, this is a very sensitive time, I guess, for people. So whatever is said better be said, or they better be quiet.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. He never made any declaration of love. He never promised her anything. He hardly paid attention to her at Dragonstone. All he did was he openly pledged himself to her cause because obviously he had to, flatter her and show her his loyalty because he needs her dragons. And he never made any declaration of love. He never promised her anything, and I don't know why people are making such a big deal out of this sex scene. I don't really know.
Exactly.
People have sex all the time on Game of Thrones.
Marie, did you?
Yeah. Also, I wanted to add here is the scene between Jon and Sam where he said he basically nearly slept with Ros, and then thoughts of having a bastard stopped him. And Sam kind of makes a joke and said, "Did you know how to do it?" And he goes, "Yes, I know how to do it." But the thought of having a bastard stopped him. And then at the dragon pit, Dany tells him she can't have kids. Well, even though he says, "Well, did you think the witch might have lied?" A thing might have gone off in his head thinking, "I can have sex with her without repercussions. There'll be no children." And that may be why he knocked on her door.
Yeah, and for her, I think her Dany's issue with that, he sees it as pleasing her in many ways by giving her different things, but for her, I think all she's used to. I mean, and when I put myself in her mindset, I'm thinking all when she sees love, it's people giving her things. Meaning that's how men show love to her, by first of all being in bed with her and then being loyal to her and just doing things for her. So when in the past somebody went to bed with her or gave her something or pledged themselves to her, they all mentioned to her that, "Oh, I love you. Oh, I love you." Dario said it. Everybody, Barristan said it. Jorah said it, and they did stuff and they said love, love, love to her.
This would be a great break in the pattern. And thinking about this all week, you guys, the conclusion I was thinking about this. She has been sleeping with people and basically breaking hearts. It's her turn. It's her turn to be the one who kind of gets slept with, so to speak, and then maybe it's not about love.
Yeah, I mean, all she found was devotion thus far, and the people that she surrounded herself with. Obviously, there were some ups and downs, and even in the books. But I don't know if it turned out that the guy, I forgot his name, she thought he betrayed her, but it turned out that it wasn't him. What's his name? The one that she was betrothed to, but way back in the Yeah, his daughter. Yeah. So I think it turned out that it wasn't him who betrayed her. But although I may be wrong, so she, in a way, did not experience a lot of deceit from men, at least besides Mary Mesder. But she's a woman, so that's kind of different for her. So I think she's gonna take it hard. Hopefully, we are seeing it correctly. Hopefully nothing big will come out besides the potential baby will come out from that relationship, because if in fact they are in love, I don't see that love. I only see a good couple scenes with some sizzling imagination, because it's an aunt and that they're related, so it's big taboo. That's the only thing I think that they were trying to do, give people what they kind of wanted and were afraid of.
All right, y'all, let's go to the chat for a minute and read some comments we've got here. You guys, I'm going to try to get all of you in. Let me go back. Okay, Viper Wren. Like Daenerys having a baby. I think Daenerys will get pregnant. She just won't carry the baby to term. Too much inbreeding. And Jon being Rhaegar's son. Well, we see this. We see this in Europe, where maybe people have children, but they have terrible diseases that are passed down. And then when your genes are that closely connected, you have a greater chance of getting these inherited diseases. We also see it in the Ptolemies. If you look, like Cleopatra, for instance, was of this dynasty. And if you read about any of the queens of Egypt or the kings, they generally married brother, sister. A lot of them had some very deformed, unhealthy Tutankhamun. Though his parents were not brother and sister, he was always a very sickly person because they were related somehow. I am not 100% sure on that, on how, but then we see just if you go back and read any of those biographies, a lot of them can't have children, or they have a couple children, but they don't survive. They can't even make it out of childhood. And Charles II of Spain, one of the Philips, who was very inbred, I believe the Austrian Philip, who ended up being Philip of Spain. He had issue, so many. We could go on and on and on with this inbreeding, where there were so many issues, even to Victoria and her children having a lot of problems, blood diseases and things. Yes. Viper Wren also says, the men in Dany's life are always very subservient. And I just don't see Jon being put in that subservient role. And if he does, his sisters will certainly tell him about himself. I believe that.
That's exactly the point. Daenerys doesn't consider anyone her equal. Jon is not her equal. She will never consider anyone beside her or accept anyone beside her. I think basically she sucked everything out of him pretty much ever since he encountered her.
Viper Wren. Jon and Dany had the depth of a Vegas hookup.
Oh my gosh, that is funny. And there's one more comment here by again, I'm gonna butcher the name, Samit Sand. It says, Jon Dany's sex scene was just plain weird. We didn't get the first kiss. It wasn't romantic, just straight to them having sex. And you know what? That reminded me of the whole duty thing. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie called Duchess. I forgot.
Very familiar with it.
Yeah, so when in her, wedding night, he kind of just undresses her, and even that guy who's so, just to get the baby in her, he even kisses her before he, gets whatever. He that guy even kisses the bride, and we see that, and it's kind of weird because we just see their faces, and he does what he needs to do to get an heir. But we don't see that with Dany, and Jon. Usually, at least for me, when I watch a movie, I want that kiss to be first, not after. After is not a bad thing either in a movie, but the kiss should come first. They should show some romance if they're trying to portray romance. And I didn't see a good kiss in the beginning.
Mackenzie would comment here. Wait, I lost my screen scrolled up. I want to read.
Well, before you do that, to me, a good reference point here is Jon and Ygritte. Jon truly loved Ygritte. You could see it. They had jokes together. Couples have in jokes together, little inside things. They're cozy. They're warm. There was a spark between Jon and Ygritte. There's nothing between Jon and Dany. There's nothing.
Yeah, and that's just weird. That breath he took before he looked at her.
That was funny.
My favorite scene. It's not at all any of my favorite of season 7. Not at all. Gosh, Mackenzie, I'm trying to find your comment. I wanted to read that. Sorry, guys. I always watch that on my phone.
There was one comment here I want to bring up too while you're looking.
Let me do this one, then you go, Elamar. I don't want to lose it again.
Yeah.
Daenerys will be jealous of the dynamic that Jon has with his sisters, cousins. It could be familia or the unrelying romance of Sansa. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Elamar.
Yeah, sorry, I was also scrolling to find a comment from, actually this one is from Viper Ren. It's kind of way up there. I had it and I lost it a couple of times, but I found it now. So it says there are 2 comments, one after the other. It says, it's why I think Sansa is going to do something in season 8 to protect Jon from Cersei. And then I do strongly believe Sansa will deal with Cersei in some way. And when I read this comment, I'm like, yes, finally. Because I am really for Sansa being the end to Cersei. Maybe not with her own hand, but I have this it's not my theory or anything, but I heard a lot of people mention this, but I'm really for it. I'm so for basically Sansa ordering Arya to do something like she did with Littlefinger. I know for Starks it says whoever passes the sentence has to swing a sword, but Sansa is a lady, and ladies don't get their hands dirty. They have somebody else to do that for them. So I'm so for, like, let's say Jon gets in trouble doing whatever, I don't even know what, but it would be so epic if it would be Sansa sending somebody, hopefully Arya, to save Jon, to be not this damsel in distress, but to be the one who brings the salvation to hopefully the man she loves. Maybe that's when she finds out that she loves him or has some feelings for him at that moment. Who knows? But that would be so cool. I just wanted to bring up that comment because it's way up there. Go ahead, guys.
Hey, and I want to bring up this, you guys. And I want everybody on the panel to answer, starting with Rich, going down to me, and then you, Elamar, and then the chat too. Is there anybody here who doesn't think that Sansa is the younger, more beautiful queen? Because I have always thought that.
I mean, Sansa, she's gorgeous. She's a gorgeous lady, a gorgeous woman. It's, yeah, that's my opinion.
Everyone thinks it's Daenerys, which is exactly why it won't be Daenerys.
Well, to me, there's evidence, and I've said it before, Maggie's prophecy. If Maggie's prophecy is to be taken as true, and also it's also mixed in with the Ghost of High Heart, if their prophecies are taken true, and I believe they are, then it's Sansa, because she's the only one that had a hand in Joffrey's death. That's why I believe with LMR that she will have a hand in Cersei's death. And I've looked back at my own old videos, and I have said that I think Sansa will order Arya to take someone's face, thinking maybe it may be Jaime, going to King's Landing, because Jon is not seeing the threat from Cersei, and Sansa is, so that makes her a little bit smarter than Jon. He's totally obsessed with the Night King, but there are 2 threats to Jon, and Sansa knows Cersei just like she knew Ramsay, and he didn't listen to her with Ramsay, and he's not listening to her about Cersei. So I think Sansa will get Arya, the assassin, to go down on a secret mission and kill Cersei. Now, in Bran's vision, you have to watch the slow motion one because you can't really see it in the fast up one. But I watched the slow motion version of Bran's vision, and you see Jaime killing the Mad King on the throne. But then there's a shadow version of him killing someone again, and it looks like someone's got a beard. And I'm just wondering, is that Euron and is that Jaime? Or is it not?
See, combining different things like Sansa being
Arya being something to fix your sound.
Sorry, I think we're all talking. Go ahead, Jen.
No, okay, there you go. Your sound had a lot of reverb in it, but I think you're good now. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just saying that that would be so great, for example, because some people wanted to be Jaime to kill Cersei. Some people wanted Arya getting somebody's face, or Tyrion, and then I really want Sansa to kill her through somebody to keep her being a lady, not killing her herself, but through her word, somebody being her sword. But then it would be so epic if, let's say, Sansa send Arya to use somebody's face, to use Jaime's face, and we kind of know from the show at least that it is possible to use somebody's face while they're not dead. So I don't see a problem with Arya using Jaime's face. Why not? I mean, Jaqen did it to use Arya's face, and she was alive. So I think that would be just, it would blow my mind. I would love it. I would love that ending. I would send them thank you notes.
Well, we're getting pretty tinfoil here, but to perform a glamour, someone, which we saw Jaqen do at the end of, was that season 3 when he gives Arya the coin and he changed his face and his hair right there in front of her? That was just a glamour, I believe. I don't believe he actually changed faces.
No, I meant like when she's right before she loses her eyesight on the show, he's like laying down dead on the floor.
Yeah, I know what you
and
meant.
He takes some faces, yeah.
Exactly. I know what you meant, but we've read in the books that there are several different kinds of ways to change your face. And there's the full-on face change of the faceless man. There's glamour. And then there's just kind of the acting. That we see the waif and Arya do so much of.
So I wonder, like a lot of people I hear, like when I'm in comments, I see people say, "Oh, I wonder," or they keep questioning if it's possible for Arya to assume a body of somebody else, like Tyrion or the Mountain. I mean, they're so vastly different from her stature. So maybe in that moment that could be the glamoring. I mean, she would not switch the face to, because obviously seeing a Tyrion regular hide would be kind of weird. But what if she glamored herself too for somebody to perceive her as Tyrion?
Yeah.
For example, yeah. So glamoring, then she wouldn't need to change the face. She would just glamour them. I mean, it is all in the show, right? And it is in the book. So it's not like complete tinfoil, because we see proof for it in both books and in the show.
Well, I guess that's true. I just sometimes they just don't go as far as like in the show.
But for Cersei to allow someone to get that close to her, it'd have to be someone she trusts. So it's either Jaime, she'll take the face of Jaime, or she'll take the face of that maid that pops up now and again on screen with that short hair. Yeah, Arya will go there and kill that maid. It'll have to be someone she trusts, who's able to get close enough to Cersei to kill her. Because Cersei's mistrustful, and don't forget she wears that high collar.
Yes, she's
very paranoid about that. She's paranoid about that prophecy, so she doesn't want it to come true. So, and also it's a kind of Arya's arc has got to go somewhere too. I don't believe her story was made so that she can kill Meryn Trant, or even Littlefinger is a big kill for her. But I believe that her arc was always pushed. Cersei's always been on top of her list. It's Joffrey, Cersei, always. Now it's Cersei, the Mountain. And also, don't forget Bran too, when it comes to the Mountain. He was able to walk Hodor because he was simple-minded. Well, isn't the Mountain kind of like simple-minded now? Does the orders of Qyburn? Would Bran be able to walk the Mountain and slow him down?
I don't see why not,
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that Sansa will definitely be the one responsible for Cersei's death, whether she orders Arya to do it or not. I don't think it would be satisfying if Arya is doing this on her own, because she doesn't really have any history with a Cersei. And I also think that Sansa would really be the only satisfying reason for Cersei to die because of the history. And another nice Sansa Cersei parallel, because Cersei has always underestimated Sansa. And we know that Cersei was supposed to marry Rhaegar Targaryen, but she ended up marrying Robert Baratheon. And Sansa will end up marrying the son of Rhaegar Targaryen. And while she was supposed to marry a Baratheon. So they are kind of mirroring each other's. Sansa will achieve everything that Cersei wanted to achieve.
That would be a great thing.
I think that's beautiful, and that'd be beautiful done. Does anybody have anything else? Because I want to go back over this, and we touched on it a bit last week. But the fact that Sansa and Jon, because we know that Jon's number one thing is he never wants to have a bastard. Okay? But Jon, and you highlight this in your video, and I also wanted to say to all our listeners, I've got so many links in this video, links to, you heard Marie speak and you heard her talk about a video she has. Catch her video, and we might talk about it sometime. Her link to her channel, Game of Theories with Marie, is in this video in the links. Okay. Storm of Swords, Jon. He thinks to himself, I might someday hold a son of my own, blood in my arms. I could name him Rob. He wanted it. Jon knew then he wanted it as much as he wanted anything. Sansa. If I give him sons, he may come to love me. She would name them Eddard and Brandon and Rickon. In her dreams, her sons looked just like the brothers she had lost. Sometimes there was even a girl who looked like Arya. This is book. Is this a coincidence that together the children they dream of having make up the family they once had? Ladies, chat.
Yeah, also there was, Sansa was, dreaming of children that looked like her last siblings and stuff. And we have this possible foreshadowing of this in season 7, when Jon and Sansa are watching those kids in the courtyard of Winterfell practicing archery, just like Ned and Cat in season 1. And these kids that they are watching, there's a red-headed boy, I think, and these kids kind of look like they could be kids, children of Jon and Sansa.
Yeah, for that, I see whenever I think about Jon and Sansa, there is this issue. Okay, what about Dany's baby? Because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a baby. I would be really surprised if the baby did not happen. So my thoughts are, okay, what happens then? I mean, we have Jon hopefully being in love with Sansa, but then having a bastard, that's going to be against what he always wanted. But I'm thinking, okay, I'm sure there's a creative way to resolve it, right? So if I were him, meaning writing that story, I would say, okay, because Jon does want to have a child. He probably, most likely, will have a child, at least one. I'm thinking more than one, meaning like multiple birth with Daenerys. And then what about Sansa? So my thought was that, I mean, she went through so much with Ramsay, and I think we mentioned it in a previous stream from a couple of weeks ago, that she went through so much and it still hurts her inside. So we don't know what that crazy guy did to her. He might have messed everything up inside, and who knows, maybe Sansa will not be able to have her own children. I mean, things like that happen. I mean, that after being abused, and she still felt it weeks and weeks and weeks after, when she was already free of him and she was still in pain from what he did. Then if that stuff is hurting still, there must be something wrong. So who knows, maybe Sansa will not be able to have children, because after being with Ramsay for so long, eventually it's odd that she wouldn't get pregnant. I mean, I'm sure he abused her daily. So for that not to result in pregnancy, that's kind of odd. But after the abuse she got from him, she may not be able to have kids. So in a way, Sansa being a mother to, because I don't see Dany surviving this one way or the other. I see Sansa as being a mother, and a better, much better mother to the child of Daenerys and Jon than Caitlyn was to Jon.
Okay. And you know what? I wanted to mention this earlier and I forgot. If Jon and Sansa got together, wouldn't everything that Jon's heart had ever be desired to be accepted actually come true in Caitlyn 2.0? And also, I always thought that Daenerys would die in childbirth. Ladies.
But for what you said, Elamar, Sansa said to Littlefinger that Ramsay hurt her, but he never hurt the pieces that he needed because he still needed an heir. So that kind of means that he did hurt her, but he didn't hurt the parts of her that could possibly give him an heir someday.
You know, with that, I was thinking that too. But then I thought that, what does he know of anatomy? He might have been thinking, oh, I'm kind of far away from that area, but who the heck knows? Maybe he was not that far away from that area, and maybe he messed up some other parts that are, still there, but couple, distances away from that area. That was just my thoughts. I mean, what does he know? But yeah, I do know what you mean. Yes.
Mackenzie really wants me to read this comment, and I think it's a good comment. So let me go back to this. What about when Cersei talks to Robert about Lyanna's ghost and what they could do to them? Jon could be her ghost, and Arya is her mini-me in looks. Could these two kill Cersei for Sansa in some way? Absolutely, I think they could. I think that's what we're kind of all hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, that would be something I would be very happy about at the end. Hopefully, they will do it that way. I don't know how else they would do it.
Well, it goes back to a scene between Robert and Cersei when Cersei says, "What can Lyanna's ghost do to me?" Well, to me, Lyanna's ghost could be Jon. It's Jon. She's left Jon behind, which Cersei doesn't know about, of course. But Lyanna's ghost could come back to haunt her through Jon.
Yeah, and especially because Jon has Ghost. What if Ghost was kind of, on their side, helping to get to Cersei? Who knows? Because, I mean, especially words that are said in the show, the important words that are said in the show are not just said for no reason. There's always something behind them.
Delusional Whore said that the reason she thinks that Sansa didn't get pregnant with Ramsay was basically because in the book she wasn't going to marry him, so it wasn't convenient to put that in. When you're talking about show, that is something that you definitely have to think of.
If Sansa seriously ends up raising Jon and Daenerys' magic baby, that would really be the biggest, pardon my language, bullshit this story could have given her at the end. That would really be the biggest punishment for her. Please don't do it, Game of Thrones.
That's a good one. That is always what I thought would happen. I honestly felt that neither Daenerys nor Jon and Sansa and Tyrion would end up just reverting back to their marriage and raising the magical baby.
Can you say that again, please, Jen?
Sure. Before I went across your video and started really looking at this more in depth, That's really what I thought would happen. I thought Jon would die in some kind of way. I thought that Daenerys would die in childbirth, and that Sansa and Tyrion would kind of revert back to their marriage for political reasons and to tie the country together and raise the magical baby as the heir.
Sansa has married twice for political reasons now. She didn't love any of her husbands. She has been used for like these 7 seasons or 6 seasons or whatever. Why should her plotline end up, or her character arc end with yet another political marriage? Why? It's really, I really don't.
That's where I thought things were going. You know, sometimes you think something's going somewhere and then you take another look at it and you change your mind. I do that all the time. But what I really like about this is, you know, the one thing that Jon never had was acceptance from Caitlyn. And if he and Sansa were to get together, everything would kind of come full circle. Acceptance. I almost think that it would end too nicely if this happened, and that's my only argument for it. Marie, you have something?
Yeah, here I am now.
Marie,
you're
who
muted.
wanted to go next?
Okay, am I unmuted now?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are. The way I see it is history repeating itself throughout the books. And Tyrion has spoken to Dany about this at the last season, where she wants to break the will. Well, to break the will, you don't have heirs following the other. And Tyrion brings up 2 examples, the Iron Islands and the Wildlings, where they basically vote for the king that they want. Now, what if there is another, after everything's all finished and done, and in maybe episode 6, and we step into the future a bit, there's another great council meeting, and the lords and ladies pick or choose their king and queen, and they choose Jon and Sansa. The North chooses Sansa, and perhaps the rest of the kingdom chooses Jon because he led them through the war, and it may not be their own choice. It may be the people's choice that they want Jon and Sansa together. Charles didn't really want to marry Diana, but through force of people, the people power who wanted him to marry Diana, his hand was kind of forced in that he was forced to marry her, but he never really loved her. And I'm thinking, because of history repeating itself, I can see a grand council being called, and if Tyrion makes it to the end, I can see him doing it, where the people or the lords of the land actually vote the next king and queen that they want, and they would want the North involved somehow. And if Jon's part Targaryen and part Stark, then the natural choice or progression is Sansa as the queen. She's been acting queenly.
That makes sense. But again, what Fire Witch mentioned, that would kind of make Sansa a victim being told what to do. I would prefer, like personally, for Sansa's growth, I would prefer if she made the first decision to do it, meaning hopefully she'll feel something. I know she feels something. I mean, from looking at her, hopefully she will recognize that she has feelings for Jon. But then along with that, I really hope that she is shown as the strong one, the rational one, and the one who makes her own decision of telling Jon or telling everybody or proposing the marriage, not being told what to do, but being grown up enough about it by herself saying, let's do it. Maybe she won't want to show her emotions in front of everybody. Maybe she will just keep it for herself and for Jon, but on the outside, just showing her rational side, saying we should have this union for the people, and on the inside she'll know that it's not just for the people, it's also for Jon and for her. I would prefer that to see her strength.
I definitely agree with that. I think that will exactly that will happen, that she will be the one who will propose this marriage once everyone learns that he's a Targaryen, and the Northern Lords will want to chase him out of the North. And yeah, she will definitely be the one who will do the first step. And I think this marriage will be, like all the other marriages of noble houses, will be primarily politically motivated, and they are lucky that they might already have some feelings, but it won't be the essential reason for them to get married. It will be primarily politically motivated, and then something can grow from that.
I'm so, as we're talking about it, that would be one of the best things to see Sansa, like completing her arc, for being seen as a rational ruler, somebody who is not just, about fantasies and pretty things and this and this and that she's somebody who thinks rationally about what she already is doing, like thinking about the winter that's coming, getting food, getting this. So for betterment of the people, of her people, I would really love for her to show that strength in sacrificing herself, but seeing it not as a complete sacrifice, seeing it part of herself, that this is her duty, and she's doing it willingly. And in a way, hopefully, like you said, she will either by that point know that she has feelings for Jon, or eventually recognize them later on.
Again, y'all, I mean, and I'm so glad that I rethought what I thought, because again, just if you go in the books to where Caitlin talks about her marriage to Ned, and she talks about how, it wasn't the same kind of love that she had for Brandon, but it was a deep, abiding love that lasted. I mean, they had a really good marriage, and Sansa's very pragmatic, and I love that about her. And I would really agree that would be a great wrap up to Sansa and Jon. And this would, going back to what George R. R. Martin said about bittersweet endings, and the ending being a surprise to people, I think this could fit that bill, definitely. And also, like you guys said, a very nice wrap up.
You see, so when everything's done, and if Jon survives and Sansa survives, I kind of can, and if Tyrion especially survives, I kind of can see that people will be wanting a change and not wanting just someone automatically becoming king, someone automatically becoming queen, and their heirs will inherit the throne. I think that the system is going to change, and it's not that Sansa's going to be forced to marry Jon. It will be her choice. If the people choose her, she's also free to say no. But I'm kind of leaning towards a Grand Council that'll elect a king, and it may be that perhaps by then Jon recognises his love for Sansa and chooses Sansa, and it's up to her to say yay or nay.
Yeah, I think so too. I definitely think that the political structure of the continent will change at the end of the story. It really makes no sense if everything stays the same. I think, like I said in the video, the Iron Throne will definitely get destroyed. We know that Jon will never live in King's Landing anyway, and I think I would really love it if at the end of the story there's some kind of more democratic system where people actually choose their leaders instead of being forced to accept people because of any birthrights, no matter if they are foreign invaders or from Westeros.
Okay, let's go to the chat for a minute. We have a lot of comments. Okay. Super Fuzzy, hello. He says, or she says, need to consider that it might not be revealed to the people of Westeros that Jon is the true heir to the Iron Throne. GRMs always tried to subvert traditional story plots. Okay, that's half of it. Okay, Mackenzie says, Daenerys is a conqueror, not a ruler. She is only queen in name only. Sansa isn't a queen by name, but the actions that she is a queen. What do you think? I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think Sansa That's why I like Sansa so much, because we see Sansa grow as a person and as a character. And also, Sansa and Jon are very much alike. Their empathy for other people is what really draws me to them. And you make really good examples of this in your video. Let me get to it in my notes. Jon taking up for Sam at the wall. The way Jon's a natural leader, like he sets plans in motion, like, hey, you know, there's no honor in beating somebody when they're down, basically, which is completely true. Sansa's the same way. Even in the chapters, the release chapter of Winds of Winter, when she takes up for the Waynwood that has a stutter. When she takes up for Dantos, the way she looks out on Robb and Aaron. They are very similar in their beliefs and what they view as the right thing to do and important. Way more similar, in my opinion, than he and Dany.
I don't really see what Jon and Daenerys.
Sorry, you go first, Barb.
No, you can start.
P. Samid says, Sansa never loses her kindness no matter what she suffers. I agree. I agree with that.
I think Jon and Sansa have so many similar ideals and ideas and similar methods, and I absolutely don't see what Jon and Daenerys have in common, really, other than, I don't know, wanting to help people. I don't know. They don't, as co-rulers, they don't have any potential, I think.
Yeah, for Jon, he never wanted to rule, and for Dany, she always wanted to rule, and so that they're the complete opposites with that. And she thinks she deserves the chair. Well, it sounded so bad. The chair, the throne, and Jon never wanted the throne. So he is willing to give in to her. But then Sansa, she wanted to be the queen that people will love, not fear. Versus Daenerys, she has people love her because of the fear that she showed that she created in others. The slaves loved her because of the fear and actions the masters took. Like, the masters feared her, so she's a queen to be feared with her dragons, whereas Sansa wants to be the good queen that is being loved because of her actions of being good. So they're more similar with Jon, and their end goals are similar.
Exactly, like you guys said, Daenerys is not a ruler, she's a conqueror, and I'm really convinced that if she ended up on the Iron Throne, she would get completely bored after 5 minutes and fly off again somewhere with her dragons. I don't know, I don't think it would work at all. Because imagine if you've been working for something for 7 seasons, or I don't know how much time has passed exactly, and then you get it, and then you're sitting there and what's next? I think she would get really restless after 5 minutes, and because she's not, like Dario said, she's not meant to sit on a chair for the rest of her life.
Yeah, and there's a comment here. I don't know if it was already read. I read it a couple times, so I'm not sure if I just read it or if it was actually said. It says that Dany, that's by Samid Sand, and I think I lost it, but basically it said that Dany never lost her kindness. I think that's what it said. I lost the comment here, and she. Not Dany. I meant Sansa. I don't know if I mentioned Sansa or Dany. But Sansa never lost her kindness, and she went through a lot. Let's not forget that she went, at least in the show, she went through the whole Ramsay thing, and I mean, after going through Cersei phase, and after going through Joffrey, I mean, come on, everybody would be messed up. But she never lost her kindness. Whereas Daenerys, at the end, she was willing to burn, at least in the show, burn people. She just wanted to burn them. Obviously, she has to show her strength somehow. But there were a couple people she didn't need to burn, and she was just fed up. She wanted to stick to her guns or to her dragons, and she did what she thought was right, which was not exactly right. She lost the kindness. She lost that that forgiveness. She felt that she couldn't show her weakness in front of people, and I don't think that it's a bad idea to show weakness, because weakness shows that you're real, that you're not just this made up person. So Sansa.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys don't know how many times I really have to just put on a nice face, and I can tell that somebody is intentionally trying to get me upset by like a dig or a backhanded compliment, and I just have to move on. But it does hurt me, but we can't go around hitting, burning, or kill. You know what I'm saying? You can't go around hitting, burning, killing people. You have to accept some of these things. And there's a really good comment here by Viper Wren. Daenerys is like that disastrous early relationship we've all had. Something we mistake for love, but like Jon probably will, turns out there's nothing actually in common there. I think that's a very good way to put it. Super Fuzzy says, the main prophecy of the show is that there will be a prince that was promised, not a king, in the story. It could be GRRM playing with expectations to deliver one last shocker.
I would absolutely love if there's really absolutely no prince that was promised and everything is just a wrong interpretation and nobody is Azor Ahai or something. Right. I would really love some twist there.
Mackenzie says, with Sansa, they would be equals. What do you think? I agree. And I think we can definitely all agree that this is a better match, but that doesn't mean that it's going to happen. And, going back to Daario telling Daenerys, you don't want to sit in a chair your whole life. We get these same sentiments from Robert Baratheon, that he felt the most alive winning the chair. And then when it actually came time to rule and to sit in it, not so much.
Yeah, for Dany, I mean, she was ruling Marine, and obviously it was a time of chaos and a lot of changes. But whenever she was ruling, it was chaotic. She was great at conquering, but not so good at uniting, and not so good at keeping peace. She had, but again, given that there was a lot of that those cities went through a lot before she was in power, but still she needed somebody like Tyrion to go there and try to save the city while she was somewhere else.
Yeah, she was basically
Sorry. You go.
Go ahead, Fire.
She was basically conquering places and cities without establishing anything permanent as a substitute. That was really her biggest flaw, I think. She didn't really think long term. She was just thinking about conquering, and then she didn't really think further ahead to establish something that might work long term.
Jake Cruz had a funny comment. He said that Jon should just bite the bullet and marry them both.
No!
That would be sick. I mean, he would have 2 wives. Oh, okay. Like Targaryens did.
He's Aegon Targaryen. He's supposed to marry his sisters, Arya and Sansa.
Yeah, that's what I heard too in the past. Yep. I don't think they would get along. One would be for love, right? Like with the other guy, and one would be for duty. That would be kind of weird. I don't think we never had them both. Obviously we couldn't, because they were not they didn't have the similar or storylines together, Dany and Sansa. That would be odd.
All right, you guys. I want to ask this question, and everybody take a minute to think about it, chat. Okay, we see Tyrion playing a major role in both Daenerys and Sansa's lives and Jon's, come to think of it. Where do you guys see Tyrion fitting in now if this is going to pass?
Oh, I completely see. Oh, I think you know my answer, Jen. I want Tyrion to be the one who writes the narration for the next book of that of what's going on. And the reason why I say it is because Tyrion is in the middle of everything.
You mean Sam or Tyrion?
Beginning I wanted Sam, but to be the narrator. But to think of it, Sam only has been with Jon at the Wall. That's it. He's in books, whereas Tyrion has been everywhere. I mean, he's traveled with all main characters. He knows their stories. He actually was advising each and one of them on something.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point.
Yeah, so he knows everything. To me, logically, he is the one who is equipped with the knowledge of what should be in that book. I mean, obviously Bran is everywhere, but Bran, being such a scatterbrain right now, wouldn't know if he's writing history or past or future. So I wouldn't rely on Bran telling the story since he can't get the timeline straight. Whereas Tyrion has been there. He lived through it. And he did say that his power is, I'm not sure exactly how he said it, but it's in the books. That's why he cannot fight. He cannot apparently rule because, he, according to his father, will not inherit anything. So at least what he can do is to arm himself with knowledge and books. So I'm saying I would be really disappointed if there was a narrator, and that if that narrator wasn't Tyrion. That's another thing. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I spoke quite a lot on that.
Okay, Mackenzie from the chat has a question. Daenerys believes in her birthright so much that she might think that she has to kill Jon to get him out of her way. Could she turn on the man whom she is destined to love? What do you ladies think?
Why is she destined to love him? Really? I think she could turn on anyone, really.
Yeah. I guess that's what she thinks, that her and Jon were destined to be together.
Oh, yeah.
See, I don't see her killing him. Just trying to think about it, like, I don't think she actually killed anybody with her own hand. She always mentioned it to somebody, and somebody did the killing for her. If she found out, I mean, if let's say Jon said, hey, I'm the ruler, and I don't think, I mean, he would say it this way, but if he would tell her, yes, I'm, if he found out, and I can see that she would be threatened. And all her life after her brother died, she wanted to be the ruler. And I don't see why she would not want to drop another man from her life to get to her end goal. I mean, she already dropped so many men from her life. I don't see why Jon would be different in her eyes.
Hello, Moni G. Welcome to the chat. Okay, you guys. Pete Samid makes a good point. I think it is possible Tyrion loses his tongue in the books, so writing could end up being his only way to communicate. I got to be honest, LMR, I never really thought about Tyrion end up being the one to write and narrate, but it makes complete sense because, like you said, he has been everywhere.
I
Yeah,
always thought,
about that after rereading the books. That's what got me thinking about it. I was too much on the show Tyrion and show not Bran, Sam, and I got kind of clouded with that. But then when I reread the books, I'm thinking that just makes sense. His power is in the books.
yeah, I always thought, like pretty much everyone, I think that Sam would, end up writing the story. I still think this might happen because he might maybe gather stories from other people and kind of collect stories in a huge book titled The Song of Ice and Fire. And I was dreaming about this last scene, like the end of Lord of the Rings, where he's sitting at his desk and finishing his book. That would be really, really nice. Poetic.
Mackenzie said she wants to clear up that what she meant by Jon and Daenerys being destined to be together was basically anybody who doesn't believe in Jon. So,
oh yeah,
which that makes complete sense. And I also wanted to get this in. Where did it go? Viperman thinks Daenerys would totally turn on Jon. Oh, Samid thinks, I think there will be a second dance between Dany and Jon. Does anyone else think that?
Yes, absolutely. I think Daenerys will, when she learns about Jon's true lineage, I think she was already totally paranoid in season 7, and I think that will become way worse in season 8 when she finds out that he's got a bigger claim, and maybe she even accuses him of having known this all along and kind of, that he kept this from her for a reason because he was going to betray her. I don't know. I think that there's going to be major drama, I think.
Okay, and Firewitch, I know you have an answer for this one. Bubba Husky says, if Jon and Sansa are first cousins, the issue with their relationship lies in the fact that they were raised as siblings. Their proximity as children makes it creepy. Now, I know you have a rebuttal for that.
I think he or she replied to my video as well. I remember. I think we had this discussion there that Jon and Sansa did not really. I mean, you can consider it both ways. You can say it doesn't matter if they were close or not. They still think they're brother and sister. Just because I wasn't close with my brother when we were little doesn't mean that I didn't consider him my brother. But with Jon and Sansa, they really made it particularly clear that they were never close as kids, and they never had any scenes up until before season 6. And yeah, they're really the two most estranged. What's the word? the two Starks that were really.
I agree. I agree with that. And honestly, the way people foster children, I mean, that was the whole reason that Jon Arryn had thought about sending Robin to Stannis, was because they were both kind of different kids. And he thought maybe if they were fostered together, that they would get along and there could be something there and it would be a suitable match. Plus they would be kind to each other is what I had read into that.
Yeah, also, like Littlefinger and Kate or Catelyn, they were raised together, right? Kind of in a way.
She might consider him a brother, he definitely considered her more. We know that.
Exactly. So it is possible.
I really don't think that Jon and Sansa thinking they are brother and sister or siblings would really keep George R. R. Martin from making them happen as a future couple, because we know he was planning this Arya, Jon, Tyrion triangle in his original outline. And I don't think he cares really much whether they grew up together or not.
Well, now think about it. The Tyrion, as far as show goes, the triangle would probably be more Tyrion, Sansa, Jon, because even though Tyrion and Sansa never slept together or anything, they did have a kindness and a respect for each other. They did.
I wonder, like right now, we in the past history of those families, there were, especially for Targaryens, there were multiple wives and one husband. I would be really, that would be really something if they actually did one wife and two husbands. That would turn a lot of heads. Yeah, I don't know if I would want to see that, or just to see it, how they will resolve the whole issue. But yeah, Jon, Tyrion, and Sansa, kind of like a twist on the Targaryen thing.
Okay, Viper Wren says, I also think Daenerys is marrying Euron Greyjoy. The dude is basically the pirate version of Khal Drogo, and Drogo was Dany's son in Stars. I have never heard that before, Viper Wren. You guys have anything to say about that?
I just think that I'm not sure if there's enough time for all that, unless they do a lot of time jumps, which they were known for in the past. And I guess if they do the time jumps correctly, it could be made to be, you know, something that we can process. But maybe, who knows? Let's say if Jon says to Dany that, I'm sorry, hon, but I have this, sister wife I'm gonna have in Sansa for political reasons. What if Johnny says, no, you won't, and then she gets with Euron and goes against Jon? I mean, she's gonna feel betrayed. So I just wonder, I mean, if she's gonna feel betrayed for love, I wonder who it will be betraying her. Hopefully Jon. And then what is she gonna do about it? I mean, I don't see her pouting and being, oh, this happened. She's gonna act like she acts on everything in her life. So who knows? Maybe she's gonna go to Euron and tell him, hey, hon, I have this other guy I need you to take care of for me before we're together. Again, tinfoil. But who knows? That's Dany, and she's capable of anything for power. She's power hungry. She has a goal, and I don't think she's afraid of doing whatever she wants to achieve it.
I agree. She's an extremely loose cannon.
I would absolutely love that, but I don't think they will have time for that, really, unfortunately.
Right. And a lot of this that we're speaking about, I don't know how far the show is going to take it. I'm not a spoiler person, so if you know something I don't know, please don't tell us. No spoilers. But perhaps even though if some of this doesn't come to pass on the show, I would look for it in the books. Marie says, Marie, why don't you unmute and tell us? Both Maggie the Frog and the Ghost of High Heart reference Sansa in their prophecies. This, to me, is the biggest proof that Sansa will be the one to defeat Cersei. Marie, why don't you unmute and elaborate on that for us? Marie?
Oh, she may be having some issues with unmuting. Okay. I remember her clicking back and forth. I'll try to look at the mic, and if I see her flipping back and forth, I'm going to let you know. Plus, you can see her too.
Okay. If you have a question you specifically want answered, would you type it in now?
And as we're waiting for the questions, Jen, I wanted to mention that, for the show, we're just so limited with the time that we have and with whatever the storylines they want to show us. But I'm so hoping for the books. I mean, whatever we don't get in the show, and the show is it's great. I treat it as two different things. Their show is basically their artistic representation of what they read in the book. Everybody probably sees the pictures differently when you read. At least when I read, I have a picture in my mind of what happens. They have their own pictures. So they're just showing us what they think it's important. This is their interpretation. And when we have the book finally at some point, we will be able to discuss it for, as long as we want to, because then again, more theories. What if he leaves something that is open? I would not like that. I want the story to be finished. I wouldn't want it to be, like this big question at the end, like a cliffhanger that will never be resolved. But yeah, the books are going to be so different. I'm not different in, you know, in the end game, but different in how they elaborate on different aspects of the show.
Right, the vehicle to get us to the end game. And also an interpretation can you know, change something dramatically of how you interpret it. Okay, Mackenzie says, wait, Marie, is your mic back working, babe? I wanted you to go into the Ghost of High Heart, Maggie the Frog prophecies.
I already have in chat. I just said that to me, that's the biggest proof that Sansa is the one that Cersei should have been
Afraid of.
careful about. Afraid of is Sansa, because she's been mentioned in Maggie the Frog and the Ghost of High Heart, the serpents in the hair. So to me, that's proof. But I also wanted to go right back, because I've written some stuff here from the books. With Ned's words, when you're old enough, I will make you a match with a high lord who's worthy of you, someone brave and gentle and strong. That boy, Joffrey, is no Prince Aemon. Didn't Jon pretend to be Prince Aemon in the Winterfell crypts with playing with Robb?
He did, exactly.
So to me that was a ding moment. And something else from Bran, which has always bothered me, in A Clash of Kings, he hears the direwolves howling, Summer and Shaggy. Bran thinks, who are they mourning now? Had some enemy slain the king in the north? Well, Robb dies. Had his brother Jon Snow fallen from the wall? Jon gets stabbed. Had his mother died? Cat dies. Or one of his sisters.
That's interesting.
Very good.
So I'm thinking, which sister? And I love both.
I know.
So I'm thinking one of the sisters is going to die, because everyone he mentions dies in that little paragraph. And I'm thinking, oh no, I love them both.
Samid said,
Yeah, that's kind of like an old crap moment for me when I came across that.
Well,
bothered me for ages.
My thought, again, I'm very optimistic. I'm trying to always find something positive or my interpretation of stuff. So what if the sister who dies is basically her dying not physically, but kind of as a metaphor? She died like on the inside. She died, whatever who she was before died, and she's a completely different person right now. So it could go for anybody. Arya is a different person currently, and Sansa is a different person. She is not that Sansa that we know from before. So in a way, that old Sansa's dead.
That's a good one. Especially as Arya is no one.
right.
And I know people are shipping Arya and Gendry, but I can't see Arya ever settling down. And at the end, I think she will go west of Westeros. So the Arya that they knew, just like Nymeria, is not who she is now. Like the old Arya, I just can't see her settling down at all. And I think she'll always be roaming the world looking for adventure. She's not going to be married and have children and sit by the fire knitting socks or something.
Right. That's not.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I like that one.
You said it way back then. I took her at her word. That's not me. Mackenzie says, Caitlin kept Jon and Sansa apart, even with the parentage reveal a secret. She could have realized they have potential feelings in the future. What do you think? You ladies are great. Thank you so much, Mackenzie. I don't think so. I think Sansa just kind of mirrored Catelyn in the way she used to be a bit of a snob, and all the trials and things she went for. And then when she took on the bastard persona in the Vale, that changed the way it garnered her empathy towards Jon. And we see that when she's talking to Miranda Royce, and Miranda's essentially tricking her, in my opinion, but she doesn't realize that Jon is the commander of the Night's Watch. And she even thinks to herself, oh, to see Jon, that would be sweet, which I think is significant because she was never very close to him. But I don't think it was anything Caitlin sensed or thought or anything like that. I think it was simply that Sansa kind of mimicked her mother, and she treated Jon the way she saw him being treated, which was not okay, but that's what she did. And I'm glad that we saw this growth in her where she grew out of treating people less than her because of some perceived betterness that is there because of birth or looks or any other reason, which I think is one of the main themes of the book.
Exactly. And I completely don't see Kat as somebody who is willing to give her, I'm going to call Sansa, her prized possession, to somebody like Jon, who is just, she wishes ill on him. She wished him to die when he was little, and she wished him to, if she could, to take Bran's place, to be in bed dying. So I don't think that Kat would actually want to do that, want both of them to be together. Maybe she just wanted them as far away from each other because there may be some feelings for Sansa, or maybe she didn't want Sansa to look at Jon too much, because what if Sansa had this crazy idea of wanting to be with Jon? That would be a big blow for Kat. Her best, I guess, girly princess-like daughter wanting somebody who's a bastard. And then there's this comment I wanted to bring up. It says, oh, no, wait, I lost it. Sorry, guys. I'll go ahead. I'm going to let you know if when I find it.
Okay. I want to bring this one up. Delusional Horse says, also, both Jon and Sansa's first crushes look like each other. And Fire Witch actually talks about this in her video. She does go over this. It's a very good video, you guys. If you haven't watched it, when you get a chance, it's like watching a show, because she put her heart and soul into this video. It's 55 minutes long. And y'all, subscribe to her channel and thumbs up this video, please. Y'all don't know how much work goes into these videos.
Actually, that's the comment I wanted you to read. So
okay,
that's awesome.
Great minds think alike, my lady.
Yep.
Okay. Also, both Jon and Sansa's first crushes look like each other. Sansa, first love was Waymar Royce, who, you guys, my phone cut off. I always watch the chat on my phone. Just a sec. Shoot. Sansa's first love was Waymar Royce, who looks like Jon, and Jon's first crush is the prostitute Roz, and first love is Ygritte. Both redhead, both kissed by fire. I think that's a very good point. So we know innately that they find each other attractive. So that's not a problem there.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And apparently that's, again, why would it be there mentioned that he likes redheads if he didn't like redheads? If they wanted to be fair, or if George wanted to be fair, he could have made one blonde, one dark hair, one, I guess, red hair or something, or show more love interest.
We get that in the book. We get Jon choosing Ygritte over Val.
Exactly. So he actually chooses somebody who's a redhead, somebody who is kissed by fire, not somebody who commands fire, I guess. Plus, again, going back to those, I can't get those two scenes for the logical reasons. One, we have a scene with Ygritte, and then we have a scene on the ship with Dany. I mean, if we had to vote on it, I'm voting for more passion, that there's more passion and involvement visible with Ygritte and Jon. And let's say people say that Jon wasn't at Dany's place way too much or too long, and it takes a while. We don't get an actual time frame, but I would say a month or a couple months over there. So, and then with Ygritte, I don't know again how long, but again it's couple weeks or months. I don't know if it's a year, or I'm sure less than a year. So they both get a time frame where something could happen, some emotion could evolve, and I completely see Ygritte and Jon as being more emotionally involved versus Dany and Jon. I just can't get past that. Why would anybody want them to be together if nothing is shown to show them being into each other, or at least Jon being into to Dany.
I mean, Jon spent at least a few weeks, if not a few months, at Dragonstone. If you consider everything that happened between him arriving there and leaving, and before he was leaving, he said to Daenerys, "I'm asking you to trust in a stranger." So he's calling himself a stranger. He still sees them as strangers. Where exactly when did they never got to know each other?
We don't see that exactly. We're not shown any of that.
For a good reason.
Exactly.
I agree. I love this video. I can watch it again and again.
Seriously, if Jon and Daenerys if there hadn't been a sex scene, would you think that Jon is in love with her, or is it just the sex?
I think it's just the sex, or maybe like a duty. I mean, the way he took a breath before going in there. I mean, I kind of pictured him with like a pitcher of wine before he took the first step. But I'm pretty sure he didn't want to smell of wine or beer before going in there. He wanted to be, playing his role nicely.
Because every time you ask people who are Jon Daenerys fans, who are Jon Daenerys fans, why do you think they're in love, or why do you think he's in love? They always bring up the sex scene.
Yeah, love doesn't equal sex. People should know that, even especially these days. Come on, people.
Delusional horse also calls herself half.
Ladies, I noticed we have a lot of reverb, so let's try to mute each other when we're talking to the.
Can I just make a point?
Please do.
To me, one of the biggest aspects between Jon and Dany is their differences. Even in the show, Jon says he doesn't enjoy what he does best, which is killing. Dany enjoys killing, and not quickly. Sometimes she will do cruel things, and I wonder if Jon hasn't seen that aspect of it yet. All he's heard now is great stories of how she freed the slaves, she freed Missandei, but he hasn't seen her vengeful side, and she can be pretty vengeful. Jon is the kind that will do a quick death, like chop their heads off. He's not one to like Cersei. Dany's a little bit like Cersei, where she'll draw out a death, like crucify the masters. Whereas I probably would have chopped their heads off. And Dany and Cersei are a little bit alike that, where Dany, I forget the name of where she locked that guy in the cell or in the bank or something, some sort of, what do you call it, bank thing where he kept all his jewels, but there was nowhere in it. And the young Dothraki girl that betrayed her, she threw them in there and then locked the door. They were going to starve to death. That's a horrible death. Then she crucified the masters and enjoyed that, and then she threw another master to Drogon, who burned him up and ate him, and then she threatened his Dar, who fell to his knees and said, like Bella Magoulis, he'll kind of die as a hero, but he didn't want to die. So she kind of gets that real enjoyment of there's an element of cruelty to her that's just not in Jon. I wonder if Jon is eventually going to see that and not like it. And Sansa doesn't have that either.
And I don't know if you there's a question that before it goes away here. It's a comment by Delusional. Its wish is Ygritte comb her hair, and Sansa is associated with brushing her hair, etc. I think Jon subconsciously is attracted to Sansa by how much he wants Ygritte to act like a lady. That's a good one. That's from the show. That is a good point. I just wanted to bring that up. What do you think, guys?
I agree. I agree. Very, very slight. And again, that's the beauty of these books, is some of the hints and foreshadowing is very subtle, which is one of the first things that Fire Witch mentions in her video, you guys. One of the very first things she mentions is that George R. Martin himself said in a 2004 Telegraph article that a lot of the theories are bullshit. And one or two readers have picked up on the subtle and obscure clues that I'd planted in the books all along.
That's a very interesting connection. I didn't really see that yet.
You got us on there, delusional horror. You got, and I just, you got us on that one. That is something I did not see either. Of course, I'm like Sansa. I can be a slow learner as well.
Yeah, and as what you said about Daenerys and her and Jon not knowing everything yet, they pushed so much into season 8. I think exactly for that reason. He doesn't know yet what she did with the Tarleys. We know that he's horrified by people getting burned alive. He gave Mance Rayder that mercy error. He was horrified when he learned that Shireen got burned. I think, and Daenerys, I think according to the leaked scripts or something, or the original scripts or something, she kept that from Jon deliberately. Yeah, I think that will all backfire at her. She will get a major backlash for that in next season.
There is a comment here, and then there are comments after that. I'm gonna just read them quickly. Baba Husky says Sansa feeds people to dogs, and then I see a comment. Oh, poor Ramsay, and then there's a reason why she fed him to the dogs, and then I wrote the comment about that she basically fed a dog to dogs. But then I'm thinking, so there's nothing to compare. I don't think, Sansa after being raped and tortured in other ways. If I were in her shoes, I don't think I would have survived. But she survived, and if I were to survive like she did, I think I would do something differently than she did. I would first skin him alive, and then I would feed him to the dogs. So I think she was a better lady than I would be. So go Sansa at that point.
Everybody who has tuned in today, thank you so much. And I wish that we could all read all of the comments. It's just, believe it or not, doing 4 on a live stream is actually quite a lot. But we appreciate you so much. We know that this is a touchy subject, the Johnson subject, and we'll get some dislikes out of hand just for even mentioning it.
Yeah, that's not a popular. I mean, everybody in general at some point hated Sansa. A lot of Sansa haters were turned to Sansa lovers because of what she became and what she's still becoming. She's not done with her development, and everybody has a development in that story. And Sansa's has one of the greatest potentials with everything being changed. So, but I do see some, for the reason like it's difficult sometimes to change your mindset even though there are facts in front of you. So I'm not condemning people who don't want to look at the facts, because sometimes it's difficult and hard to change. It's fine, not everybody is able to change like that, but especially after seeing different I guess facts from the books and the show, I'm all for Sansa right now. If I weren't for her, I mean, I would have the same reason not to be for anybody else in that show. And I'm just choosing to be open-minded. And this is great to see such a great video being made. Again, Firewitch, thank you so much for making that.
Yeah, I would also like to point something out. Please, I want to say a huge shout out to all the amazing Jon Sansa analyzing and theory writers. This never would have been able without all these awesome analysis metas and texts, and everyone is just, constantly digging up new stuff. And I was really just, putting the major things into a video. I listed some blogs in the video description. Please check out everything they are writing. They are really amazing, and they don't deserve the shit that they are getting from a certain fandom group. really. Thank you.
And thank you so much for allowing me to host this live stream. I'm amazed at your video. Again, if you guys weren't familiar with my channel before this is really the first special stream I've done, and just so thrilled to have Fire Witch as my first guest, and these ladies, Marie and Elamar, who both have really great channels. I host a book club on Thursday night, 8 o'clock Central, where we go through each chapter by chapter of Game of Thrones. We started at the beginning. One thing about this channel is you won't see anybody argue with you and tell you you're wrong. We don't know for sure. We're just speculating. This is a conversation amongst friends. And that's how I like to look at it. Nobody's wrong. Nobody's right. Nobody's the best at Game of Thrones. We just really love it. And I just love to see everybody just come out and participate in a friendly and welcoming manner, because that's what this is all about. And we can agree to disagree. Like Fire Witch said in her video, she's not trying to convert anyone. She's just expressing her opinions. And we just, want everybody to do the same. And I wish that I could get to everybody's comment in the chat. But like I said, 4 people on a panel is actually quite a lot. But I do kind of consider this my dream team. All right. We always try to keep it at 2 hours, because sitting behind a computer is as hard as sitting on an iron throne. Does anybody have any questions that they would like directly answered? If you want somebody specific to answer it, put it in there. That's no problem.
And also, I'm thinking I'm not sure if we're gonna at some point collaborate on any of these series again from this video. That would be great, because there's so much to talk about. If anybody has a question or a concern or something we didn't get to during the stream, maybe if you could leave that as a comment in the video, and we do check them. Jen has she gets them the notifications right away because it's her channel, but sometimes we have to go back and forth to look at the comments. But if you have a comment or a question, I would say just leave it in the comments, and we're going to be answering that if you'd like.
Absolutely. I think if it's okay with Fire Witch, we're going to talk about this again. And she's also making a new video. I would love it if she would come on here again and discuss that video. Also, Marie has some really good theory videos, and we'll be discussing some of those. I'm not a big theory person, but I like to discuss them. I'm a pragmatic person.
I would definitely do 100 more streams with you guys.
Hey, Connie. All right, well, I want to give a shout out to everybody who's in the chat. Connie Super, Samid San, Moni G, Delusional Whore, Bubba Husky, Jennifer Aguilera. Saw Jake Cruz in here earlier. Viper Wren, AU Pack Mule, Mackenzie, Moni G. Thank you all so much for coming. Wait, I'm still going. Want to make sure I get everybody. We really appreciate it. I know it's hard to stop everything you're doing and just sit in a chat sometimes. That's as far back as my little thing would roll. Anybody I missed, you guys, that you can think of out of hand?
I see. I was just scrolling up. I'm not sure if you mentioned William the Bloody. I'm just scrolling up.
Mine stopped scrolling.
Okay. So yeah, I see William the Bloody. I'm not sure if you mentioned.
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
And if I didn't mention you, I'm very sorry. For some reason, my phone quit scrolling up. But again, this is always a friendly chat.
I saw my good friend Jon, Super Fuzzy, in the chat earlier.
Okay, I remember him, Super Fuzzy. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Fire Witch. I'm sorry.
No, that was that's the one he left, I think. That's the one I remember.
Yes, and
that I recognized.
And do like leave a comment on the video if we didn't get to it, or if you're listening to this later, leave a comment and we will get to it. And if that's
there's a cool
everything,
comment. There's a cool
mark.
comment.
Okay.
Sorry, Jen. I started laughing when I saw it. Mackenzie Burns, right? Wouldn't it be funny if Jon and Sansa have an argument about Dany arriving, and it ends in basically a heated emotional moment with a kiss and more? Oh my God,
girly girl, but I actually think that would be quite amazing. Now, what I think would be amazing, Mackenzie, is if Arya comes in and is like, Sansa, why are you letting this dragon queen come in here and take our brother? And she's the one who points out, you know, especially after they find out about his parentage and it's not a creepy brother-sister thing. And she comes in and is like, Arya comes in and is like, don't let this happen.
That would be great. I would love that. Oh my gosh. I hope we can always hope, but at least we mentioned it, right? Oh my gosh. It's like I lived through it, right? Like as if I lived through it by just reading this comment. I have a picture in my mind. That is really cool.
I really, really want. I would love if Arya makes some remark or something that triggers Sansa to say something like, you know, I would never betray Jon. I love him, or something, or maybe, if they have, like you said, like they said in the chat, like in a fight or something, because they are so passionate when they are fighting. I really love them when they are fighting. They are really, really. There's so much tension between them, like in the tent scene.
Chemistry.
And maybe if that is escalating or something, and they are finally releasing that tension between them, that would be really epic.
That would be something, all right. That would be even more spicy than the whole, you know, Daenerys and Jon thing.
Oh, one thing I have to add to that, you know, in the leaked script for season 7, there was a scene after the Great Hall scene where they had this argument, and they are in Jon's office, and the wording goes like, you know, Jon is angry at her, and then they're like, they are skirting around the true tension between them. So all the subtext. So what does that mean?
Yeah, they show that tension in the show, and I think you mentioned it, or somebody mentioned at some point. There was more tension in that room between, you know, Sansa and Jon than there was than what I saw in bed while looking at Dany and Jon.
100%. 100%. Oh, and what we were talking about, the way, and somehow this got skirted over, but you even mentioned this in the video, Firewitch, and well, no, maybe we did talk about it, but just, I don't know. It seems obvious to me, but I don't know.
For which one, Jen? I'm sorry. I didn't.
It seems obvious to me that Jon and Sansa, you know, and that's the thing that keeps me from hoping too much, is that Jon and Sansa it would just be too happy of an ending, because they're actually perfect for each other.
I don't think it would be too happy of an ending, depending on what happens in season 8 yet, depending on their losses, everything they will have to sacrifice. I don't know if we are allowed to talk about that. Is that a spoiler about the Winterfell set? What's supposed to happen to that?
Well, there's no way you could avoid the fact that it was burning, you know?
Yeah, that's
where I look. I avoid spoilers. I don't go to leaked scripts or things like that, but there was no way you couldn't be a member of Watchers on the Wall or anything else without seeing those pictures.
Yeah, that could be a huge clue for Sansa, referring to the rebuilding Winterfell issue, because Littlefinger said something like, in order to build a new home, you have to demolish or destroy the old one. And if Winterfell really gets destroyed that season, then Jon and Sansa will literally rebuild Winterfell. I think that would be a great sacrifice if Winterfell burns down or something.
Delusional Horse says, I think they didn't show it, but maybe it's possible that behind the scenes, Dany is the one that summoned Jon to her room. Did you see his defeated expression when he knocked on the door?
Yeah,
Dan totally agrees.
There's also in the, I think in the leaked script or in the original outline for the script, there's the wording like Daenerys, they're having this meeting at the end of the episode, and then Daenerys summons Jon to her room, and usually she does that because she has certain intentions, and you could tell that he wasn't there because he wanted to be there, you know.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's why I said that there should be like this bucket of wine next to him. That he actually went in there after a couple of tall ones.
I agree, you guys. All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, we're at 2 hours. I am Jennifer from the Lady Wolverton's Den, the channel you're at right now. I just want to thank everybody who popped in, stayed for the chat. Just thank you so much, and thank you for your kind words. Like I said, I always want to get to every single y'all. Somebody's knocking on my door. Can you go ahead and talk to my husband?
I think we're having some muting issues.
Oh Lord. Go talk to my husband out back, please.
He's in the backyard.
Now, this way. Will you take them with you?
We have some fur babies over there. Yeah, I think Jen will be right back. I just said, Jen, that we have some fur babies.
All right. Okay. So I'm Jennifer, the Lady Wolverton. This is my channel you're at. Thank everybody so much for coming by. Fire Witch, FEUERHEXE. Did I pronounce it right?
Feuerhexe.
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 I'll get it one day. I'm sorry. I'm so country. All right. Thank you so much. I absolutely adore your video. Everybody, seriously, check out the links. She put a lot of work into not only the links and the references that she drew from, every one of them, to the video itself. Okay. LMR and then Marie and Fire Witch, if you would take us out.
Thanks, Jen, for having me. Thank you, ladies, for being on the panel here with me. It was awesome. This is LMR. You can find me at one of my 2 channels, Living My Rhapsody, where I do my writing journey for what I write, and then on Living Reviews, where I do random reviews of, I guess, random things, and obviously Twitter, Instagram, and all that lovely stuff. Thank you again.
Thanks everyone for coming today, and thank you for your witch. I'll get a Sunday too. Aussies are bad. Thank you everyone, and take care and have a great day, and God bless.
Yeah, hi,
Okay,
thank
Marie,
you.
excuse me, Fire Witch. Marie's being modest. There's a link, everybody, to her channel, The Game of Theories with Marie. Go ahead, Fire Witch.
Yeah, thank you so very much for having me. This is so much fun, and I'm really so happy that I get to discuss this very underrated theory that that doesn't really get mentioned that often on YouTube here with you guys. And you can find me on my channel, FEUERHEXE, of course, and also on Twitter as Fienchen82. But you can also find a link in my YouTube channel in the video, in the channel description. And yeah, I'm currently, like you said, Jen, working on a new video about Jon's political mission in season 7, which might explain a lot of strange things. And I'm a little frustrated at the moment because I'm working on the script, and the script is 9 pages long already again, and I don't want to make another video that is another hour long, and I'm really I'm a little desperate at the moment, but I promise the next one will not be 55 minutes. I will try to make it shorter. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Well, listen, I love your epic videos. I mean, you sit down with a soda and a snack and you watch it like a show. And 55 minutes, that's a show without commercials. I love it. And that's another thing. Fire Witch doesn't have those annoying pops up in her channels. And I love that. It's very nice. Everybody here has a channel. Links are in the video. Please take them out and please watch your Twitter. Watch for notifications. We will be doing more epic chats like this, and we love for you guys to get involved. If you have a question, please leave it in the chat. We all look at it and we all answer, and we answer every question. We don't skip over anybody. Thanks everybody so much. Have a great day.